that you complain about every day. I listened to another radio station and it was loaded with complaints. Now, you know what our major problem is? Let me tell you what our major national problem is. The major national problem in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is a lack of constitutional understanding. That is the foundation of every single problem we have in this country. Let me repeat that. The lack of constitutional law among the Bahamian population, 99% of you and more, do not know this constitution. That has been a major problem for the last 51 years as an independent nation. And people don't understand why, but I can tell you why today. If you really knew the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas, all of our problems could be solved. Every single one, without fail. All of these grumbling things that you're complaining about every living day. You send people to the House of Assembly, you appoint people to the Senate, you complain about them all the time. And I'm not saying you shouldn't complain if you have problems. But not one of you has ever put forth any possible solutions to the complaints that you have. You keep saying the Prime Minister this, the Minister that, the MP this, the Senate this, the Parliament that. But aren't these the people you put there to run your national affairs? Should they not know what hurts you? And then you jump up and say, they're doing this, they're doing that, they don't understand this, they don't understand that. You do not understand the importance of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas to our national development, to our constituency development. So I'm going to take this Constitution to explain that in basic, fundamental language. So when I hear you again on the air, you're going to say, Professor, here is a possible solution to this particular issue that affects my constituency. Because there are constituency problems, major constituency problems. And I understand people are moving away from the family islands and coming to Nassau. You got one talk show host who is from Grand Bahama. He don't want to go back to Grand Bahama. He wants to stay here, but his family is down there. He doesn't believe he could make some good money in Grand Bahama. That's why he's up here. So you have many people from the family islands trying to cram on this island 21/7. Now, should it be that way? The answer is no. And he's saying to the public, we don't know what it's like to live in a family island. But what about those people in Maguana? What about those people in Crooked Island? They mentioned Cat Island, constituency of Cat Island, and also Exuma, where this particular host believes that things are going good for those people. Then we hear the report about the millions that came through the airport in New Providence. What benefit comes to the average Bahamian? That is what we need to understand. Out of the 4 point whatever number millions of people who came through the airport, what amount of money trickled down to the fella in Bain Town, the fella in Fort Fincastle, the fella in Fox Hill? You know, Fox Hill got one problem right now. I'm going to talk about that one. Bahamians, you do not know your constitution. That is the real cause of all of our problems in this country, every single one. You'll hear that from Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson, because it's true. I have examined the evidence. I've lived it, you know. The Constitution will keep you strong all the time. And where the Constitution falls short, you have the Holy Bible right there. So the two of them go together. The Holy Bible, which is the written word of God, and the Constitution. That's all you need. You need nothing else. But you will have political parties come up with all kinds of plans and programs, and this is what they're going to do, that's what we're going to do. Most of it is never done. You've had that for more than 51 years. And there are some of you who got your eyes fixed on two political parties, either this one or that one. Then you have such a lopsided system. Right now it's 32 on one side, 7 on the other side. You think we can make any headway like that? No, we won't. Because one former prime minister said the numbers are so large, it's very difficult to contend with all of these personalities who've been elected to that particular side. And they have to find, or think, excuse me, or think they have to find positions in government for every single one of them. Is that the way we're supposed to govern this place? That's not constitutional. The Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is your salvation document. Without it, you are not going to have a nation. Let me repeat that. The Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is your salvation document. Without it, you won't have a nation. You're allowing people to write things on scraps of paper and telling you that's how they're going to run things. It is not constitutionally sound. And so people are all confused. The Constitution allows political parties. Nothing wrong with that. You know what the real problem is? The real problem is parliamentary representation. That's the clinch of Bahamians. You run from this party to that party, the next party to the other party. And you have any number of political parties. But what you do not have is strong parliamentary representation, which is outside the boundaries of any political party. Do you know that? Do you know the political parties have to put up their own candidates to run in a parliamentary election? And then they talk about their base. I mean, what are we saying? They have this 40% base, 40 for this one, 40 for that one, 20 swing votes. I've heard that kind of crap. The Bahamian people do not know how to choose strong parliamentary representatives. That is a major flaw in our system. Now, I'm going to help you with that one. I'm going to go to great lengths from the Constitution to show you how to choose strong parliamentary candidates, or representatives, I should say. Well, candidates first, and then they'll become parliamentary representatives. But you don't understand what the Constitution has to say about it. You have never checked the document. That's what's the problem with most of you out there listening to me right now. You've never read your Constitution. You don't understand your Constitution. You listen to a lot of crap from people who don't know the Constitution. You get all confused. And I listen to them rattle and make noise about the particular personalities they sent to the House of Assembly, and they come to find that people ain't checking for them. You just remember that. Can you not know in advance? Yes, you can. Because the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas will give you the proper guidance to make sure you're on the right track. That's why it's the supreme law. But the supreme law has been downplayed from the beginning by those who have been given the authority to run your national affairs. And you have bought into it. That's why we're in the predicament we're in today. All kind of national problems, all kind of constituency problems. And all you could do is grumble and complain, grumble and complain, grumble and complain. And you do nothing else but grumble and complain. And you don't have one iota of what you should be doing because you don't know your Constitution. That is a major national problem. And it has to be fixed. And it will only be fixed with you knowing what to do. When a government steps out of line, the Constitution tells you what to do. When a representative steps out of line, the Constitution tells you what to do. But you ain't checking for the Constitution. I heard the Prime Minister making some remarks to those women in Grand Bahama about the Port Authority. Why should the government of the Bahamas, represented in this case with the Prime Minister, should have this rowing session in public about the agreement with the Port Authority? Why? Why should any government be in a rowing session with any private investor? Why? Look at the decades they have had. The government of Bahamas and the port. Now they're rowing. And the fellas say they don't owe them no money. So they ain't paying it. What kind of administration have you had over the last 51 years which will allow that kind of crap to grow to the point where over $307 million as claimed by the government of the Bahamas? Could you personally owe a bill like that to the government of the Bahamas? Could you owe a bill like that to BEC or a bill like that to Water and Sewage Corporation? What do you think would happen to you? They won't even give you the time of day. You owe them a couple of dollars, they come and cut your phone off. They come and cut your light off. They come and cut your water off. But here's the Grand Bahama Port Authority owing hundreds of millions of dollars. And who has had the relationship? The government of the Bahamas and the port. And that is why you have to examine carefully what comes out of the mouth of the Prime Minister and what the government of Bahamas has to say, and also what the port has to say, and what those personalities involved with business down there. And to them, this is supposed to be a complicated matter. But when you have a government have to publicly come out and row, and the port comes out and put their statements out, something's wrong with that behavior. That didn't just happen last night. Something seriously went wrong in the relationship between the government of the Bahamas and the Port Authority. You got to find out what it is. And sometimes it takes some real digging to get the real answer to what has happened. Because when you listen to both sides, they're going to give their story. And the people of Grand Bahama, what are the people of Grand Bahama doing about it? Are they just going to sit right there and be squeezed by the government of the Bahamas and the Grand Bahama Port Authority? Are they going to be like the meat between the two loaves and get sandwiched right in? You know, Grand Bahama has all kinds of problems. But the Grand Bahama Port Authority is supposed to be dealing with what is called Freeport. That's a section of Grand Bahama. The Grand Bahama Power Company raised the rate on electricity by 6.33%, approved by the Grand Bahama Port Authority. The government is saying that they have no authority to do so. Say, IRCA's supposed to do that. And when I look at the Electricity Act, I see where the government of Bahamas is doing things that are contrary to that act. But they were quick to jump on the Grand Bahama Power Company to say they have no such authority to do this or to do that, when the government itself violates the new Electricity Act of 2024. That's why you got to go and read these things, Bahamians. You ain't gonna let up on the Grand Bahama Port Authority if they're wrong. Well, then don't let up on the government either. And the report was that IRCA is supposed to look into it. IRCA needs to look into what the government of Bahamas is doing with BPL, Bahamas Power and Light. They haven't done nothing. And some things are happening which ought not to be happening now because some other things are supposed to have happened first. Those things have never happened. So who is watching the government of Bahamas? Who is keeping tabs on the government? You, as citizens of the country, have to do it. You think they can keep tabs on themselves? The answer is no. You think they can admit when they're wrong? Let me tell you something. The government of the Bahamas has never, ever admitted to doing anything that was wrong. No agencies of the government have ever admitted to wrongdoing, even though it's right in your face. But you do it. It's a different story. How can you knock this fella for doing wrong when you're doing the same thing? That's the way they do things in this country. And because too many of you sit on your backsides doing nothing for 51 years, that has brought us to this point where we are now. And all we hear every living day, all kind of rowing carrying on. No solutions, no possible solutions. People want to run this place, but they ignore the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And you go and give them the power. You, the electorate, have done that. Then you grumble and complain. After you then give them this power, you could take the power back. But you ain't do nothing to take it back. Some sit up and say, I can wait for the next election. Some of you might be around for the next election. I spoke to a gentleman from Chippingham, and I mentioned about the incident that occurred recently in that area, where a young man was slaughtered in the street. And now you had this big crowd of people out there, some of them taking films and everything like that, taking pictures. Young man dying in the street, Bahamians. Why should that be happening in Chippingham? But it did happen. What are the people of Fort Charlotte? That's the Fort Charlotte constituency. What are they going to do about it, Bahamian? You just pass it off. It isn't my son. It isn't my brother. It isn't my uncle. Is that the way you're going to look at it? And then you show a nonchalant, attitude. We are small in numbers. That is the Bahamian population. I'm not talking about them who here legally. They got to go home. That's where they're going. They can't stay here. This country is not for them. What are you going to do about it, Bahamians? The man slaughtered in the street. And all people could do is come and take pictures and say some negative things about the man or his family. Don't you think the family is hurting from that? To see this man sprawled out on the ground with blood pouring out of him. Same thing happened in Fox Hill. The mother cried out in anguish. And some of you got the gall to criticize the mother in a negative way. And I blame the press for carrying that story the way they did, because I saw it 3 times. And I think it's time that we counsel these people. Do not speak to the media when something like that happens. Just shut them out. Give them no story to print. Because some things the lady said could be incriminating to herself, her family, her relatives, and others in the community. One has to exercise caution and restraint. That's what I do on this radio station all the time. Some things you're not going to get from me because I'm not going to tell you. It's just as simple as that. If it has nothing to do with a national issue, community issue, constituency issue, well, you could deal with some family issues, but I won't get too close to that either. Now, those personal things, you keep that to yourself. Because a lot of you tell me all kind of personal things, and then I can't talk it because I just pray about it and ask the Lord, help me forget it. We need solutions to community problems, constituency problems, national problems. You do not even have the thought to sit down and think, talk to your people in your particular constituency. What is it we're going to do about this dead man in the street in Chippingham? What are we going to do about this dead man who is in, well, I think in somebody's yard, slaughtered in Fox Hill? We had all kinds of slaughteration before then. So what has Fox Hill done about it? What has Chippingham done about it? What has Centerville done about it? Centerville had some slaughteration too. Are we going to keep going round and round and round? You get your hit, I get my hit, the next one get his hit. Are we keep living like that? Is that the way we're going to keep going? That's not constitutional. Bahamians, if you don't know your constitution, you are going to be in big trouble. You are right now in big trouble. It's only going to get worse. And if you keep electing persons who write scraps of things on pieces of paper and tell you they're going to run by that and ignore the supreme law of the land, you're asking for more trouble. You need a government that is constitutionally sound. You need a cabinet that is constitutionally sound. You need an attorney general that is constitutionally sound, because that attorney general has been given a lot of bad advice. Very bad advice. But anybody told him about it? Anybody pull him aside and say, Mr. Attorney General, this is a bunch of crap you're talking. Or you just let him just run on with this foolishness. And we are feeling the effects of it, Bahamians. And all you do is sit and allow it to happen. The government makes a bad decision based on the advice from the Attorney General's office. The government is wrong. The Attorney General's office is wrong. So what are you going to do about it? If you do not know your constitution, this country is going to go down. And it will be taken over by strangers, foreigners, aliens, and outsiders, and they can bring their own brand of law. Because they see where we ain't paying attention to our own supreme law. You expect them to pay attention to it? You saw what happened in Sudan. Sudan hasn't waken up yet. When your country gets broken up in civil war, it may never, ever occur. You may never recover from it. The President of the United States said democracy is under threat. Is democracy under threat in the Bahamas? I want you to answer that today, Bahamians. That's what you need to be thinking about. If democracy is under threat, we could correct that today. We ain't got to wait for tomorrow. Why wait for tomorrow when you could do it today? This Monday, August the 12th, we can deal with that today. I keep telling people all the time, do not let time pass and you do nothing. You just sit on your backside and allow things to happen. Let people throw all kind of crappy things on you. You don't want your voice to be heard. Oh, I don't want my voice to be heard. I don't want the MP to know I said this or said that. And plenty of you talk in your little circles because I know you're doing it. I see it among people I know personally. They got big mouth. See, what you know what I tell them? I say I can say it on air so everybody can hear it. I want the nation to hear what Professor Thompson has to say. I got this live microphone in front of me. Thank God for this privilege and this opportunity. So you ain't got to ask nobody about Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson. You just listen to Global Radio 99.5, Monday to Friday, 2 to 4. You'll hear from me. So you ain't got to get to no gossip, no rumor, no hearsay. Tell them stop the crap, man. But they right round the cooler. And they got the biggest mouth under the sun. But they wouldn't make a phone call to the radio station and express that view publicly. They keep dodging and hiding. You know what God says about people in the dark? Men love darkness rather than light because their deeds are evil. I'm very suspicious of people like that. You're not prepared to say it publicly, what you think, what you believe. But you got the biggest mouth at the dinner table. You got the biggest mouth in your little private conversation with a couple of people. But you would not pick up that telephone and say, I'm going to express this publicly. Because if it's true and it's genuine and it's real, why shouldn't you not share it? I'm not saying you must make up lies now. Because I heard some remarks the Prime Minister made. And he has a right to make his remarks. I'm not knocking him for that. The point is, you do not examine what the government of the Bahamas is doing. That's point number one. You do not examine the things they say publicly. Whether it is constitutionally sound, yes or no. You don't do that. None of you do that. Not a living one of you do it. But you got all that big mouth with a couple of friends who talk foolishness and nonsense and got you more confused. Famous, you need to listen to people with sound information. And on this show, you will get sound constitutional information, especially on Mondays. Now, the other days, I might touch on it. But today is Constitutional Day. And I hitting hard on the Constitution today. They got no time for no foolishness and no nonsense. I had the music up in the background. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson. We'll be back after the break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this. Join Today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is Constitution Day, and I'm hitting the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It is your salvation document. You lose that document the day of tomorrow, you don't have no nation. That's the only thing was holding us up, you know. If some wicked people could have just pushed it aside and say it's not important, they can't do it. Some things cannot change in this constitution, in the country. Let me make sure I get it right now. Some things cannot change in this country unless the Constitution approves it through a referendum. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Brother Sid.
Hey, what's happening?
Boy, I can't tell you. I asked Biden.
What Biden say?
Biden tell the boat them speed up in the east. A little something about to happen.
I understand that he sent some warships up there. They're not going fast enough?
Well, they go fast. We tell him speed up because Iran say you all killed the two top man, so they're getting ready now to do some mess up there. And you see what's going on in Rome, all the goat dying now. They had a drought, no water. You can't get no cheese. Boy, that's something, Brother Sid.
Wait a minute now. Wait, hold on. That's in Italy, right? Rome is in Italy.
Yes, sir.
So what happened there? They had
the goat. The goat where they get a cheese from?
Right.
Yeah. Dying out.
Oh, wow.
Stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
So, when the thing get getting a little easier, just get harder.
So what happened to these people who's supposed to have solutions, who running things?
Well, Brother Sid, like you always say, except the Lord build a house, the man labors in vain.
So how come these leaders have not yet understood that simplicity of that statement?
You mean?
About the Lord building the house. Because we got the Holy Bible right here. Ain't
going
nowhere.
They know you know. But everybody playing fool.
Why?
Because they believe this is switch on and switch off. When problem and things happen here, you hear them, we're going to call for a national prayer. You see, that's supposed, and you see people out on Bay Street, but they praying and things like that.
Yes.
Ain't waking, brother.
You telling me these prayers are not waking?
If you think it waking, you think that why this bomb is like this, why it's like it is now?
Are there not clear-cut solutions in our Constitution which will solve every major constituency problem and every major national problem?
Yes.
So what are we waiting on then?
I don't know what they wait. No, they say the people they even say now the three police from UK can be in on Wednesday. 1 month.
They're going to spend a month here?
1 month can go on, and these people just coming.
Oh, I get you. Yeah. Okay. I understand where you're coming from now. Okay.
But I said, all I can tell you, do what you got to do.
Oh, I will. Yes.
Do what you got to do, because I don't know what to say. But anyway, you take it easy.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your call. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The lines are open 326-0271, 326-0272, 813-0271. Of course, we have Cable Bahamas 974. You can hear us on that. Of course, we have Facebook, Global Facebook and Global YouTube page. And there's some others I quite don't remember them right offhand, but I got to get it into my psyche in my head. I'll quote them. But Bahamians, the solution's in your constitution. Every single major problem that confronts this country, the solution is right there in the Constitution. So why our leaders are not doing it? We do not have to be suffering the way we are. This is a beautiful country. We ought to benefit from it. Now, you know, the man say he dealing with some people in Foxhill. That's the Prime Minister's office. And they want to acquire property from persons who live in that area. Well, I suppose put my email out. Sidney M. Thompson, SIDNEY M. Thompson at hotmail.com. Please send me an email, callers. And you people who are listening. Send me some information about yourself, what constituents you're in, your age, your date of birth. Put your phone numbers there and everything, because I want to call you. We got serious work to do, Bahamians. I don't want you to just listen to me Monday to Friday, then you go home and go to sleep. Bahamians, we got to do more than that. I gave you a proposal on July the 8th. This is August the 12th. That's a month and 4 days. And we need you to respond to it. There's no need for you to continue to suffer the way you've been suffering all these years as an independent nation. 51 years. For what? When the solutions are right in your Constitution, the solutions are right in the Holy Bible. So why? Why are we punishing like this? Why was that young man slaughtered in Chippingham? Why was that mother crying out in anguish for her son, whose body was mangled in so many different ways? I don't want to get into the gory details of it. But destroyed. These are two young men who were destroyed. Then another man in Foxdale, I think it was, coming home one night, didn't even get out of his, I think he may have gotten out of his car, but he didn't get in his house. He was slaughtered right there. Multiple bullets were pumped into that particular individual. But the question is why? Why should we be doing this in the Commonwealth of Bahamas? Such a beautiful country. A peace-loving people. A God-fearing people. And we have this kind of crime. What's going on, Bahamians? Are we ready to take decisive action, constitutionally sound action, to save this place? Because, Bahamians, we have to do it if we can save it. You ain't gonna get it saved by following crap on pieces of paper that someone write some foolishness on it and say they're gonna run it that way. You ain't getting nowhere with that. You've seen the evidence, Bahamians. I don't know how much more evidence do you want. And it's all negative, nothing positive. When are we going to have some positive news coming out of these constituencies? When? When are we going to hear some good news about a major national problem having been solved? And here are the clear-cut benefits that come to the Bahamian people. When are we going to hear about major constituency problems having been solved? And here are the clear-cut benefits that come to the people of that particular constituency as a result of that major constituency problem having been solved. Because see, once you solve it, you don't have that problem no more. I understand the people in Lutra have a water problem. It was said that the water was off. It was also said that the water was on. Now it's off again. And they're constantly having problems with water. What about those people who've invested in Elutra? Are they having the same problems with water? See, these are the kind of things we need to look into, Bahamians. So the water was off for several days, according to reports that I got. People were not able to take care of their physical needs. I'll just put it like that. And people didn't have perhaps water to drink, or they had to bring in bottled water for people to drink. Why is it in 2024, August the 12th, basic fundamental things that should be automatic to the Bahamian people, how come we don't have them? We always keep hearing about infrastructure. They're doing infrastructure. But then, when are you going to finish the infrastructure? When? For more than 51 years, I've been hearing about that. Infrastructure. When are people going to benefit? They keep telling you the struggle continues. When will the struggle be over? That we can have some peace and tranquility and relaxation by a weary people. Some people say they're tired. The results from the last election show a very low voter turnout. I can speak to that today. But yet, the particular entity that won the election are running the country. And the thing is, they say they have a mandate from the people. And there's some things about the parliamentary system you people need to understand, you know, because some of you made some very bad decisions, extremely bad. I believe we have a call on the line. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good day, Professor, and good day, Bahamas.
Good day. How are you?
I'm doing well. Professor, I just wanted to remind the Bahamian people that when you mention the infrastructure,
yes,
the government keeps speaking of needing money for infrastructure.
I've been hearing that for more than 51 years.
Well, Professor, we had a sovereign wealth fund that was established and put on the books.
Yes.
And it was repealed. It was taken off of the books.
Yes.
In favor of a national investment fund.
Yes.
The government said that from this fund, they would use the money to put into infrastructure.
Yes.
So, based on what you're saying, I just wanted to remind all of us, it is as you said. So even our sovereign wealth funds from our natural resources, from various income streams, even that they are not directing towards the Bahamian people.
No, they're not.
That's all I wanted to say today. But good day, Bahamas. You know, at some point we're gonna come out ahead, but right now we seem to be going backwards.
No, we are going backwards. No doubt about that.
Okay. Good day, Professor.
Thank you, caller. Thank you, caller. The caller is correct. We had a sovereign wealth fund. It needed to be checked because benefits ought to be coming to the average Bahamian. But they were talking about taking the money and putting it in the infrastructure. I've been hearing that nonsense for 51 years plus. So you can't fool me. Everything going into infrastructure. And yet we have a break up infrastructure. And the people got problems getting water in Elutra. I won't talk about the roads. That's a whole horse of a different color. And pipes for storage. Look at New Providence. What kind of infrastructure do we have here on this island, where most of your people live? And what benefit has come as a result of the 100 million overrun under former Prime Minister Put down roads. And now the roads all broke up. All kind of potholes. You got to keep dodging potholes day and night. And don't let the lights be off. You can't see nothing. Street lighting is poor. But you as citizens and residents tolerate this crap every living day. And you do nothing about it. See, I have a problem with that, you know. Serious problem with that. You are not correcting the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for the wrongs that they're doing to us. You're not correcting the representative of your particular constituency for the lack of strong parliamentary representation. I can expound on that a little later in the show. The thing is, Bahamians, we got to wake up. The Constitution has been ignored by the government of the Bahamas from day one. 51 years as an independent nation. And it's been violated from day one right up to now, August the 12th, 2024. And we've allowed the government of the Bahamas to get away with this foolishness. And all you do is grumble and complain, grumble and complain, grumble and complain. You ain't bring no solutions. What are your solutions? You have any? Call the show and tell me what your solutions are, because I got some. As I know it to be, the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas is your salvation document. Without it, you don't have a nation. They'd like to try to do away with the Constitution. Is democracy under threat in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas? Because the man told me, the President of the United States told me, democracy is under threat in the United States of America. That's what the man say. He ought to know. He's the president. They talk about the riots and the Capitol riots, which occurred in 2021, January of 2021. There are personalities who have not yet been brought before the courts for the damage that was done. Lives were lost, Bahamians, in that dispute, where they wanted to interfere with the counting of the ballots. Yeah, any foolishness like that. And you kept hearing a statement even before that event occurred. They stole the election. They stole the election. Who stole what? Who was the they? They never identified who the they was. And up to this very day, they're still singing that wicked tune. They stole the election. And they're saying again today that they're blaming some people who will steal the election. That's the only way they could win. I didn't know you could steal. The United States is supposed to have the safest democracy on the planet, but apparently they don't have that. Because if you could steal an election in the United States, it shows you have plenty of flaws in your system. You would have thought that would be the best possible system on the planet. They pride themselves in other things. So what happened about this one? But that's what they say. I want someone to call in and tell me whether democracy in the Bahamas is under threat. That's what we ought to be concerned about. Is parliamentary representation under threat? Yes, it is. I could answer that. I see the evidence every day. You are not getting parliamentary representation, strong parliamentary representation to deal with the monumental constituency problems you have in your own constituency. You ever check Article 52.1? You need to read it and study it. I see y'all don't study no constitution. You just listen to crap from foolish people telling you nonsense. And you go with it. You run with it. And let me say this. You go to St. Barnabas Church. You work to BTC. When you go to BTC, you don't tell them people you go to St. Barnabas Church. I don't think they even care about that. When you go to St. Barnabas Church, you don't tell the members I work to BTC. Because they'll tell you I work to the food store. I'm a police officer. I'm a nurse. They all have different professions. But when those very same people go to BTC, they do the work for BTC. They're all on one accord. And there's no confusion. They don't go on the wrong day. They don't go 11 o'clock Sunday morning, say they're going to BTC or to any of those other jobs, unless they're jobs where they have shift and things like that. But most of them are closed. The people in church at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning. And of course, there's some who worship on Saturday morning. And there's some who worship with them other fellas. They have church on Friday. The point is, you don't get it mixed up. All these years you've been going to St. Barnabas Church and you never went to BTC 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning. How come? Well, then the same way you can do that, why is it that these people in a given constituency don't seem to have enough intelligence to choose the right person to send to the House of Assembly? Why? Why is that? Because obviously it's a big problem. It's a huge problem. It could be constitutionally solved. If the Constitution tells you how to deal with it. Let me just add this. Most of you out there may be followers of a political organization. Your political organization that you follow, because you ain't no member, only a couple of people be members in these political organizations. And it always has been that way. But then the political organization talk about their quote-unquote base in a given constituency. And the thing is, you may be a follower of that political party, but you don't have to vote for the candidate of that political party. You may even be a member of that political party. You don't have to vote for that particular individual in a parliamentary election. Let me say this to you. Choosing a parliamentary representative is not a political party function. Let me repeat that. Because, see, you people don't know the Constitution. And it grieves my spirit that you get all mixed up. Choosing a parliamentary representative is not a political function of a political party. That is a constitutional function for representation for that particular constituency. That's what that is. You don't have to do with nobody. Because the party could put up a no-good, weightless personality as a candidate. Are you supposed to go and follow blindly by some person who is completely weightless and no good? Is that what you're supposed to do? I would hope not. And you're supposed to be intelligent. You're supposed to be smart. They tell me this is a smarter generation. People are better educated, but you're not behaving that way. You certainly could not have been choosing wisely. With all the clatter, with all the noise, with all the complaints I keep hearing every living day, and I hear more than most of you out there. And yet, you hear these constant complaints over and repeatedly, and people don't seem to have any answer to anything. You ask them now, what are you going to do about it? All of a sudden, they go deaf. They go silent. And they ain't got no tongue in the mouth. So we get mixed up like that. You don't even have a possible solution how we can solve this particular issue about parliamentary representation. You got to go to your constitution to get the answer to that one. But if you just go after someone who wrote crap on one piece of paper, then you can keep getting fooled and misled and deceived. That's what you can get. You've been getting it for more than 51 years. I don't know when you're going to learn sense. Wake up, Bahamians. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson. The lines are open, 326-0271, 326-0272, 813-0271, and of course, cable 974, Facebook, global Facebook, and global YouTube channel, and some others I got to get to know them. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson. We'll be back after the break.
From Cable Beach to Montague, it's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of Bahamas, August 12th, 2024. And this is Monday, Constitution Day on my show. And I'm speaking about the Constitution, this most valuable document, your salvation document. Without it, Bahamians, we are not going to make it as a nation. We've been failing for the last 51 years. Now, there may have been some bright spots. I'm not going to dispute that. I know one bright spot that occurred for the entire 51 years. But I have a call on the line. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please. Caller? Oh, okay. I thought it looks like I didn't have a caller. Okay. The point is, we have serious problems. And I'm trying to get you today to say on this radio station what you can contribute and do, particularly constituency issues. Because I threw out the challenge on July the 8th. One major constituency problem to be solved in 18 months. That's all the time you need. You need no more than that. Provided you get righteous people to head the project. That's number one. Number two, 51% or more of the people in that particular constituency must become righteous in their dealings one with another. Then that constituency is headed for progress. If you want progress, then there must be change in your behavior, your attitude, your work ethic, the way how you handle your people right where you live. You should be able to get on well with them. Of course, some people are not doing that. There's always contention. There's always bickering, arguing over simple, non-significant things. Why are we like that? And people get all flustered and confused, misled and deceived. Deception is a serious thing, Bahamians. You could be the most highly educated person in the country and still be deceived. And I believe that's what has happened to most of us. We've been deceived. We've been misled. And a deceived person doesn't know they're deceived. That's the problem. And when you say you did nothing wrong, you think the government is perfect? You think the MP is perfect? You think those in the cabinet are perfect? You got to be blind if you think that. But you've never ever heard any single one of them admit to something they did that was wrong and sought forgiveness from the Bahamian people. Not a living one. If you know of any, name that person today. Call them out. I challenge you to call them out. I was there from the beginning, you know. And I have no recollection of any time when any department of the government has admitted to doing something wrong and asked forgiveness from the Bahamian people. Never, ever did. No representative, no senator, no cabinet minister, nobody. They just tell you they did nothing wrong. So they say they go into court. The court's supposed to make a decision on that. Well, you go to your court then. I go into a different court where I know I can get justice. Because the man said, I will repay. I go into that court where I know I'm going to get justice, even though these human courts will fail you. Because there are too many loopholes, too many weaknesses, too many shortcomings, which need to be straightened out. And we could get them straightened out, you know. But are we ready and prepared for that? To deal with that in this critical time so that justice can reign supreme in this country? Are we ready for that? We got to ask ourselves some sobering questions. If we're not ready, we're going to go deeper into trouble. And we don't need that. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Hi, good afternoon, Professor.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well. Just commenting on your last comment where you said you have yet to hear one of our governmental representatives apologize. I chuckled to myself because no longer than this morning I had this conversation with my husband, telling him, you know, I spoke to my aunt who resides in Harbor Island. I have roots in Harbor Island, and I said to him, I hate the fact that our representatives seem to, they patronize us. They make us feel as if everything is hunky-dory, everything is going well, and we know better. You're living it.
Yeah.
And I think it's extremely insulting. So to add to your comment, where they are very unapologetic because they are never wrong, you know, and people tend to forget that they are human beings just like me and you, and they do make mistakes, you know, but the real issue I have with them is that no, don't patronize me as an intelligent behavior.
Yeah.
Don't make comments that seem as if everything is fine and gleam over what's obvious. You know, my aunt living in Harbor Island, she's in her 70s, and the power situation is, I mean, it's dire, Professor. It's to that point where, you know, I have cousins with businesses, and the businesses are affected to the point where they can't open, and you know, you cannot pretend that this problem, successive governments have come and went, you know, and they did not do what they were supposed to do, and hence the problem that they're facing. One day they didn't have internet, phone, cable, nothing for hours. And my question is, do they live like that?
Good question.
Are they experiencing these outages? I have a brother living down there, and it's the same thing. And I just feel so badly for those people. When you think about what Harbor Island contributes to our bottom line, you know, it's just unfathomable to think. And then we have government representatives who come on TV who they don't apologize and say, you know what, we contributed to what we have here. We're trying to solve the problem. We are very sorry about it. They don't say that. You know, and we have to stop and we have to look at these things. And we really have to think about the types of persons we put in place to represent us.
You hit the nail, caller, you hit the nail right on the head. Could you
take
the words right out of my mouth? Now,
yeah, it's very serious. It is.
That is why I challenge, I don't know if you heard my challenge I put out on July the 8th. Oh, you heard it? Okay.
I did. And we do have issues in our constituencies where there are events that could have taken place. I live in the Pine Ridge constituency. And one thing that we could, we have families that struggle immensely in these communities. And our people need ways to be able to feed themselves. And we need to change the mentality that our governments are obligated to do what we should be doing for our families.
Yes, ma'am.
You know,
quite right.
And the monies that they pump into buying backpacks and books and all that is fine and dandy. But people need to be able to support themselves. We need the entrepreneurs. They need platforms. They need opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, and I personally, we could have done much better in this constituency in that regard. We really could have, you know, because I barely even see my representatives. I mean, I don't expect to see them eye to eye, but, you know, you just expect them to be a little more active. I don't know. I won't even go there. That's another.
But see, there are some things that are spelled out in your Constitution. See, I tell the people right off the top, the Constitution has the answers to our national problems.
Yes.
There are some things that are spelled out in your Constitution that tells you how a representative is supposed to perform.
Exactly.
But they ain't happening.
No, No, they do their own thing.
And the
And
Bahamian people who live in that particular constituency, I tell them you could do something about it.
yes, absolutely.
Okay
But once
then.
they give us what we, for so-called, want, they go on about their merry way, doing what they wish, and and it's
Yes,
just
ma'am.
I'm tired of being insulted. I'm just really tired of it.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
just something just has to be done.
Yes.
We need sensible, like you said, righteous and upstanding
Oh, yes.
representation. People who
Yes,
won't
ma'am.
get pulled into the system, pulled into the I got to get something for me mentality. You
That's
know,
wrong. Yes, ma'am.
and so we've got to look to that. But thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, caller, for calling, and I appreciate that call.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. That is an excellent call from that caller. She says she lives in Pine Ridge, if I'm not mistaken. But that's fine. But you people in Pine Ridge are hearing me. Please, and all the constituencies, I threw out the challenge, 18 months. Let's give Professor Thompson 18 months. One major constituency problem. Just one. You choose the one you want to work with. And let's get the people, according to Article 24.1 of your Constitution. I want nobody talk foolishness in my ears. Because I know I am legally right, I am constitutionally sound, and I'm biblically sound. So what's stopping us from doing it today? You ain't got to wait for tomorrow. We could start today. It's been over a year and 4 days. No, 1 month and 4 days, because I gave it out July the 8th. We still have a little time, but Bahamians' time is running out, man. I am delighted the lady spoke about what's happening in Harbor Island. Why should people be living like this? Why should we be without proper electricity? The wastage of people's goods. They're not able to provide services. Services are affected. Goods are affected. No electricity. And they want everything to be digital. But you can't provide the proper electrical system in place to keep the lights on, to keep the electricity going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 366 days a year. We can't get that. When your goods are destroyed, BPL isn't paying the bill for you. But yet that lady who is the minister for Grand Bahama could jump up and talk about the Grand Bahama Power Company charging 6.33%. The Prime Minister spoke to it too, And I asked myself, the government itself is violating the Electricity Act. And it may very well be. I don't know, because I have to look at that Hawksbill Creek Agreement. Yes, you may have that in the Electricity Act about ERCA. But those people in Grand Bahama have been getting away with so much for decades. And how the government allowed the accumulation of hundreds of millions of dollars by a private company. Why? Whose fault is that? That ain't no benefit to the people of Grand Bahama to tell them that. They're catching hell right now. Now, Grand Bahama, please call into the show. Y'all are just too quiet down there. Or up there. Y'all are north, yeah. North of New Providence. Y'all are north, man. Come, you people in the north. Bimini and Grand Bahama. Oh, you got Abaco too. Abaco is in the north. The point is you can't keep sitting down and being sandwiched by the Port Authority and the government of the Bahamas. You get mashed up in the midst. How you let that happen? Now I hear them talk about opening up Lucaya. We've been hearing all kind of talk. Go back and check the records. and see what has been said and watch what has been done. Bahamians, you're not going to be able to do anything unless you know your Constitution. Let me get that straight, right across the board. Because people will keep deceiving and misleading you. You don't have anything solid in your hand to tell them right to their teeth, you are wrong. And here's why you're wrong. You keep playing this dangerous game. People are losing their lives, Bahamians. How much more of this crap we can take? One person cannot do it. I told you when I put out that announcement on July 8th, Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson cannot do it by himself. It's unconstitutional for that to happen. See, I know my Constitution. The Constitution talks about the fundamental rights and freedoms of the individual. Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson is an individual. Now, all those rights in there, I could work with all of them. Praise the Lord. But it says any person. That means the illegal alien got rights too. It didn't say any citizen, you know. It didn't say any resident. It says any person. A person could be a citizen, a resident, an illegal alien, as long as they're in the Bahamas. But illegal aliens have no status in there. You lock them up and send them back where they come from. That's what you do with them. Then you got to worry about them no more. I don't know why we keep hanging them around here, creating problems. They got enough problems with residents, legal residents, and Bahamian citizens. We got enough problems with representatives in the House of Assembly and senators and ministers in the government. You want to add to it with illegal aliens in your land, bringing in more problems, Bahamians? How we get mixed up like this? We have to do something about that. And we can. So I was saying to you, there's an article in the Constitution that speaks to inhumane and degrading treatment. Do you know that when you do not get strong parliamentary representation, which you're paying for now, that is inhumane and degrading treatment, Bahamians? That's in your Constitution. There's some other things in there I got to point out to you. That is not the way constituents ought to be treated, but it's happening all the time. And you can stop this foolishness from happening. But you let the fella think he's doing the right thing. Treating you bad. Inhumane and degrading treatment. One sentence. That's the article in the Constitution. How much more of this crap you can take? Amos, we got to wake up now. Now, I had to tell you the man talking about them people in Vauxhall. The Prime Minister has put out a notice, say they're going to acquire properties, and they list the properties for a public purpose for the lower income people. Now, I noticed one thing. They talking about they knocking down shanty towns. Where are these people going? Do they intend to sandwich them in Foxhill and other black belt communities on the island of New Providence? Is that what they intend to do? Where are the green spaces in these constituencies? Where are they? You're going to cram all these people who are not entitled to be here. Because I hear nothing about no repatriations, you know. All of a sudden, the government's gone quiet on that. See, they're knocking down shanty towns. Anyone who is in this country illegally ought not to be here. The government of the Bahamas has a responsibility to have them round up. They got the manpower, they got the facilities, they got the resources, they have everything at their disposal. And yet these people are still running wild in this country. I see some right in Centerville. They ain't no Bahamian. They don't even look like no Bahamian. They're foreigners. They're aliens. They're strangers. That's who they are. They're outsiders. They don't belong here. But we have not heard of any repatriations, people being sent out of this country. But we know some coming in from the South. It has been reported people coming in with passports in their hand. Bahamian passports. How do they get them? They are not citizens of this country. Yeah, they may have one document which appear to be like a Bahamian passport. Bahamians, we have to be very careful with citizenship. You could find that we could be outnumbered with a whole army of illegal aliens purported to be citizens. That could cause tremendous destabilization in your country. But guess what? We have to fight against it and stop it from happening. Because some people seem to be hell-bent on naturalizing people. I believe I have a caller on the line. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please. Caller?
Hi, Professor.
Hey, how are you?
I am good. Listen, we're not hearing about any repatriations and we're not hearing about any boats coming in. It's because they're coming in through the airport. They're coming in, they're being legally landed now.
Oh, legally landed?
Yes.
That can't be legal.
So
Anything that is contrary to the Constitution cannot be legal. I don't care what kind of spin they put on it.
Yeah, they're giving them visas. They're coming from the north. They canceled all the flights into Port-au-Prince and they now go into North Haiti.
Yes, ma'am.
And so they're all coming on flights.
Yeah, that has been reported to me. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, you go down to the airport, all you can hear is Creole.
Creole, yes. You wonder if you're in Haiti?
I'm thinking Nassau will be the capital of Haiti.
It would appear so. At the rate we are going now. Yes, I've gotten those reports.
Yeah.
And
it's not because the defense force are doing a great job. It's just that they're not coming by boats anymore.
But also we're not getting the next side of the story, what the U.S. government has been doing so for a couple of months, patrolling the seas and rounding up illegals to stop them from entering the United States.
No. Every other country has suspended visas into their countries from Haiti, but the Bahamas is the only one who receives them with open arms.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with you. You're quite right. Now,
it's a shame.
Why is that so? Why the government hasn't told us why?
Well, I think they are going to be the voting faction in the next general election.
Tell them wait on that. They can get a shock of their lives. If they think all these fraudulent documents they are handing out now, where they're talking about, the man say he got 300,000 applications. I don't know whether they're all for citizenship or what. But they're going to get the biggest shock of their lives when they find out that every single one of them is false. All of them have to go back home. I don't care how long they were here.
I agree with you, Professor.
And we will have a government in place that will take very rigid, don't let me be involved in it, praise the Lord. I tell people plainly, I wouldn't budge one iota. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how brilliant you are. Once you violate this Constitution, you got to go back home.
I agree with you, Professor. I agree with you 110%.
And God is going to give us that opportunity, Let them keep doing foolishness. See, God says, I will repay. That's who I'm looking forward to deal with these wicked people. Because I know they ain't gonna admit nothing. They can always say we ain't do nothing wrong. God say, you stay right there. I can fix you. When the man tell me, I am the eternal, I will repay. Oh, I got confidence in that. God has a way of taking care of wicked people to bless his people. Because he said, because you have kept the word of my patience, I will keep you from the hour of temptation. So we have God's protection. See, that's what people overlooking. They're looking the fact of God. God is going to bring us out of this crap that the government has put us in. It ain't gonna be them. So all of those crappy papers about naturalization stopped July of 1974. That was only for the few British subjects who were here, who wanted to be Bahamian citizens. And they couldn't even get their own family members to be a part of it because the Constitution didn't permit it. So plenty of them went home. So they're going back to England. July of 1974. But they have people wanting naturalization. That's unconstitutional. It's not legal. They have no legal authority whatsoever to do it. And people just sitting right on their backsides and wouldn't tell this government, listen, you are dead wrong. Stop your crap. Stop your foolishness. They wouldn't do it. But
No,
Paul,
they
I
won't.
appreciate your call. That is a good call. Thank you very much. I think we got to go to a break. I hear the music in the background. Why these breaks keep coming? This is Professor Sidney McAuliffe Walter. I'm enjoying this show so much. I losing track of the break. We'll be back after the break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this.
Shell wants you to pack your bags and cruise the
Yeah, let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Yeah. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. This is the last part of the show, so get your calls in. 326-0271, 326-0272. I was quite pleased with how the show went Friday, and I'm pleased with it today. We could get some more calls in. That would be fine. But I'm asking you for solutions now. You haven't given me any solutions, and I'm concerned about that. I got to get you to think in the direction of your Constitution. Because it is clearly evident 99% of you don't know the document. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. And that portion of that 1% who think they know it, they don't know it either. So it puts one in a very precarious position. So I have a lot of work to do in trying to get the message out. And of course, it requires your sponsorship of the radio show. Let me put that out there also. We need your sponsorship to keep the show on air. Please call me at the radio station, 326-0271, 326-0272. Leave a message for me. Say, I want to give this message to Professor Thompson. Or you can call me in my own line, 325-8652. That's after the show. 325-8652. Or anytime, day or night, on that line, 325-8652. And I'll take your call from you. So it's important, Bahamians, that we do what we can now. Let's not waste any more time, because time is short and we have to move very quickly. If we're going to make anything happen, I believe we have a caller on the line. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Okay.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound a little muffled, though.
Yeah, the thing is, the only solution is to kick those after them on PLP so and vote COI. That's the only solution. I don't see no other.
No, let me say something to you. I've heard that kind of talk. Before, but you're missing the point. It is parliamentary representation that is the problem. Now, let them keep their little parties. I'm not particularly interested in nobody's party. Do you know that you don't have to vote for those parties? Do you know that? The Constitution doesn't say you have to vote for them. When you're doing the job of choosing a parliamentary representative, that is a constitutional function by the constituents of that particular constituency. And they ought to collaborate with each other to find the best possible person to send to the House of Assembly. We're not doing that. You say well, you mentioned those two particular parties.
Well, Professor,
yeah, go ahead.
If I can say this, I'm a Seabreeze. And I'm not getting a good representation down there.
Are there others in Seabreeze?
This lady down here, her office is never open.
Yes, sir.
She can't get, she had a lot going on. I understand she called a job fair some time ago and didn't even show up.
No one showed up, or someone did show up?
No one showed up. So I was told.
Oh, okay. All right. You were reported to
told
okay.
that she called a job fair, to the people recruiting for looking for jobs and so on. And she called a date, and the fellas under the tree told me no one showed up.
Oh, she didn't show up either.
No one showed up. That's what I was told.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Now, and I just don't see her getting back in. And I can't see. I can't.
Okay.
Because the people down in Seabreeze, they're hating. And not say you're looking for no handout or nothing like that, but at least they have things to say. They want
do.
You vote these people in, and you want to at least have a conversation, find out what the problem is. So just talking to people sometimes is helpful.
But the representative ought to know what the problems are and be communicating with the constituents. That's not happening.
It's not happening. And it's not fair to the people.
Yes.
And you get just the way people around here begging for dollar on the road, begging for food. no smiles on the buses. Man, this is the worst I ever seen it.
Yes, sir. But I'll tell you that with all the pressure that is being put on the small man, you see those people in Vauxhall where the prime minister decided he wants to acquire people's private property. I want someone to call in who has had experience with the government acquiring their properties. Let us hear what their experience has been. Can you hear me?
Yes, I heard. Any of it, Professor, I can give somebody else a chance to get in because there's so much to say.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, so I'll call you another day.
Yeah, please do. And thanks for the call.
Yes,
Thank you very much. No, the caller is correct. See, that's why I'm saying to the people of the constituencies, there is plenty hope for you because it's in your constitution. But you don't know the constitution. That is a major national problem that must be solved. Now, I ain't gonna wait to solve that one. But Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson cannot do it by himself. The Constitution forbids me to do it by myself. So I got to go with the Constitution. Article 24.1. That's why we need your support for the radio show. We need your support to do some other things as well, off air. So it's going to require the collective will of a people to bring change. If you follow the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas, you'll find the right person. You don't need to look to a political party for any candidate. How many of you know that? This is all constitutional, You don't need anyone to send a Jack Lim to you to say, vote for that Jack Lim. Maybe they don't go that way. How we get all mixed up like this? You don't have to accept any party candidate from any particular party. You've seen the track record of that. I can speak to that some more. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, Professor.
Hey, how are you?
Great. Thanks for following up with me last night.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that, yeah.
You have mail.
Pardon, I didn't hear.
You can check your mail.
Oh, email. Okay, all right, okay. I'm gonna work on that, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I gave you some information.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Because I need all the information I can I can get
Yes.
because I want to see something happen. And we can make it happen.
It will happen.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I appreciate your confidence.
Have a good day, Professor.
Well, thank you, caller. Thank you very much. You see, that's what I like about people who I speak to. They send me the information. See, once I get the information, I can work with it. But we're going to need your cooperation. See, I'm going to tell you right from the break. This is not something for one particular person or a couple of people to do. The Constitution doesn't support that. What the Constitution says, you have certain powers in your hand. Article 24, but there's only one, Article 2. Have you read Article 2 of your Constitution? Which says any other law that is inconsistent with this Constitution shall prevail. And the other law, to the extent of its inconsistency, shall be null and void. We got plenty of laws that have been passed. Plenty of agreements. Plenty memorandums of understanding. So they got all kind of funny names now. But these are things that people have signed and say we got to go by it, and we don't. But you got to examine it first. And I'm going to need a team of competent people to help scrutinize everything that has been passed as a law. One person can't do that by himself or herself. You need a team of people, a team of eyes to look at it, examine it. Competent people now. I ain't talking about people who can't understand. competent, reliable, responsible people. Let me just say this. People like talk about how educated they are, particularly those in the legal profession and in other professions. They call themselves the professional class. That's fine, nothing wrong with that. It is what you do in the office that counts. We've had many people, quite a few, who were attorney generals in the past. But you know, all of the attorney generals have missed the boat. Every single one of them. Even Paul Adley. The Honorable Paul Adley, let me make sure, give him his props. The Honorable Paul Adley himself, a brain box when it comes to law, miss it completely because he didn't solve the problem. As brilliant as he was, and he used to row plenty for Pendling, you know, and he could row good. But I'm simply saying the attorney generals have missed the boat from the beginning. Every last one of them. I won't talk about this one. This is the worst one we got now. Giving all kind of bad advice. That's why the country is all kapunkal up, all in turmoil. See, when you give people bad advice, you get bad results. And that's what we're getting today. But you and I can change it. See, that's the beauty of the whole thing. You ain't got to sit up and take the crap. You people need to understand these things, Bahamians. Because of the fact that we have a living constitution. It's been alive from July the 10th, 1973. It ain't stopped yet. It's ongoing until Christ comes back. And it's a wonderful document. It's the best document you could have in your hand next to the Holy Bible. It is your salvation document. That is the only thing that could pull the people together, is your Constitution. No other document could do it. It's a national document. This ain't no party thing. So the real problem is with parliamentary representation, not the political bodies. You're just putting the wrong people in. That's the problem. You and I have been putting the wrong people in the House of Assembly to do our national affairs. That's the crux of it. Let me say it right to the teeth. Because that's what's been happening for 51 years. No ifs, no ands, no buts. Now, how do we choose the right person? That's the question. How do we know? And people will ask, it's a fair question, but it has an answer. It has a constitutional answer. But if you don't take the time to study the Constitution, just go over all those articles I've been doing. They're right there on Global Facebook, Global YouTube. And of course, my own channels are going to be carrying them as well. But it's there. Now, some things you may not fully understand. Even though some things I've been saying over and repeatedly. That's why I took the opportunity to talk about some of them today. And you ain't get it yet. You see how hard it is to understand this Constitution? It's a very challenging document. So I have to exercise a great deal of patience. And we have to do more than just the radio show. We got to do some other things in relation to the Constitution. It is a huge task, Bahamians. It must not be taken lightly. But then the question is, who's qualified to teach? With all of this confusion, and we got all these legal personalities, most of them, I would suspect, are in different phases of law. And there's nothing wrong with that. They got them things. That's fine. Those are statute laws. Ain't nothing constitutional about them, except the fact that every single one of them ought to be in line with constitutional law. And if they're not, to the extent that they are not, null and void. You just knock it out. Article 2 fixed that for us. So you ain't got to worry about that. It is automatically not law. Because the Constitution says it ain't law. Now, some of you want to take it to court. You could do that. You could take it to court. Because a group of citizens have taken action against the government of the Bahamas for violating the same most valuable document. And plenty of you are sitting out there. You know about it. You've heard about it. Now, what are you going to do about it? You can stay in the rat hole until they block that hole up and you can't get out of it, and you die right in that hole. Is that what you want? Don't wait for that, Bahamians. You get snuff out. That doesn't make any sense. You have tremendous latitude. Let me just speak to this fear factor, because God says in his word, be not afraid. The fearful people who got all this fear in them, they're afraid, they're fearful, they're unbelieving. God can't work with you if you're fearful and unbelieving. Ultimately, God have to get rid of them. That's what's going to happen. It's right there in the book of Revelation. The fearful and the unbelieving, along with some other fellas. It's going to have them thrown in the lake of fire. They can get burned right up, and they ain't coming back no more. Never, ever to see life again. That's a hard thing. But that's what God has to do to people who don't listen. Man, you got plenty of chance, you know. But it can get to the point where God can say, now you had enough. You got to stop this foolishness. I just have to obliterate you. That's what a loving God has to do. That's why he gave this big sword to those who say they're in authority. But they don't use the sword. They got it, but don't use it. So someone can yuck the sword out their hand and use it for them. That's what's going to happen. We just can't keep going the way we're going, Bahamians, and you need to wake up to that fact. You can't keep sitting down doing nothing. You heard the man from Seabreeze. And plenty of you are dissatisfied with a lot of things in your constituency. You're dissatisfied with a lot of things that are happening in the government of the Bahamas, but you ain't correct them. And some of you have knowledge and understanding about different issues, but you hide it under the rug. You don't want your name to be called. You don't want to say anything. Now, I don't think you should get in people's personal affairs. I would say that right off the top. Just leave that part alone. But anything to do with national issues, constituency issues, and the information is accurate and precise, true. We could speak to that on air. Just like this big publication on Friday with the acquisition of lands in Fox Hill. And who's going to be living in these places when the government acquire these lands? Are they going to flood these communities, these black belt communities, with more black people? Is that what they're going to do? Something is very suspicious about that. How come they ain't taking land out west? Plenty of land out there. Vacant land. In Fox Hill, you got parts and parcels of property, yes. Fox Hill is cluttered now with people. You can jam more people in there. Is that what the government intends to do? Because the man say acquiring the land for public purpose. Acquisition and disposition of lands. That comes under the office of Prime Minister. See, you all don't even know how powerful the office of Prime Minister is. That office is extremely powerful. I describe it like a gigantic octopus that spreads its tentacles in every single facet of your life. You get the wrong person in there, you're going to have trouble. Thank you, Mr. Producer. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Well, good day again, Professor.
Yes, sir.
And Bahamas. But since you mentioned like the giant octopus spreading
It's
hands
tentacles.
all over,
It's
the
tentacles in
all
every
over the
facet.
place.
Listen, in every single facet of Bahamian life. That's the
So-
office of Prime Minister.
Professor, if Foxhill is only the beginning, I'm just putting it out there. If the office of the Prime Minister on last week Friday put an announcement in the Guardian and the Tribune,
Yes,
20 notices
yes.
or one giant notice, Bahamian families, Davis, Brown, on and on, being displaced. And the Prime Minister saying he needs the land for public purpose.
That's what the man say. And he bringing in some other people, low-income people, into these quote-unquote public, the place, what he said is for public purpose.
So, Professor, if the government could barely borrow money, if the government could barely pay its dues, and owing the public, we have the pension fund owed hundreds of millions of dollars. If the government having trouble, what about the small man in Foxhill? Why are you taking the man's land in Foxhill?
That's a good question. Excellent question.
And we in a desperate time right now.
Very desperate, yes. That is correct.
So what if that's 20 notices. Land gone. Been in those families for generations.
I want someone to call in who has had experience with the government of Bahamas with the acquisition of land. And what has happened to that land? What has happened to the so-called compensation? That's what we need to hear from people out there who've been through this crap in the past. I want someone to call. I got to stop now because the man tell me I get to the end of the show. But thank you, caller, for calling in. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. I'll be on tomorrow. I don't know if I can put it in tomorrow. I have some guests coming in tomorrow. But Wednesday, whatever, we'll get it in. Thank you very much for listening and participating, and have a pleasant afternoon.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those